Last time I talked about fractals and the Sierpinski triangle and the Mandelbrot set, and I showed you my Sierpinski triangle and the Mandelbrot Set Maker in Scrap Mechanic. Today I've got a fractal tree, and I have converted my Mandelbrot maker into a Julia Set Maker as well. Hi everybody, Steve from Steve's Makerspace here. I want to thank everybody for putting the Mandelbrot maker to the top of the workshop. Very excited to convert the Mandelbrot maker into a Julia maker as well, Julia Set Maker, and to show you my fractal tree. So let's get to it. This is my fractal tree. So I'll just play with it for a little bit so you can get a sense of what it is. Okay, and we'll do some of this and some of this. And we can make it really big, and we'll reset it with number 9. So what am I doing? So number 1 is a base length of the pistons. That will become more clear in a minute. Number 2 reduces that length. As you go up a layer of pistons, the pistons on the next layer up are a percentage of the pistons below. So pressing number 3 increases the percentage change from one piston layer to the next. So if your base length is 12, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 11, 12. So if your base length is 12 and number 3 is set to 50%, so we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then that means that the bottom piston is 12, the next piston layer up is length 6, the next length is 3, and the next length is 1.5. So if number 3 is set to 100%, so we'll do another 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then all of the piston lengths are the same. But you can also go past 100% so that the ones on top, and here I'll lower the base so you can see this more clearly. So now I'm way past 100% of for number 3. So the base is small and the ones above are large because I've got like, I don't know, 150% or something like that. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So number 5, let's reset it, number 9, and we'll get this up to about here. Okay, so number 5 increases the angle of the branches. So I'm hitting number 5, number 6 decreases the angle of the branches. Number 7 and 8 are similar to the way that 3 and 4 work, but instead of changing the piston length percentage change, let's call it a multiplier. It changes the angle multiplier so that by default all the angles of the branches are the same, but I can hit number 7 and now the angles for each layer up increase, and I can hit number 8 and the angles for each layer up decreases. So that's about it. So let's just play with it a little bit more and I'll show you something. If I just keep hitting this, it goes around like this and does some wacky things. It's sort of like it's making its own art designs, and you know, if you glitch it out, you can try hitting reset, and if it doesn't reset properly and gets glitched into the ground or something, you can always put it on a lift, and then I do recommend welding it to the ground because of how much it's jerking around. Oh, one more thing, you might have noticed that my seat keeps backing up. My seat is also on a piston, and so I've done a calculation so that the larger this thing gets, the more my seat backs up. to accommodate the view. So that was kind of interesting, trying to figure out how to do that. But I figured it out. Here we go. So let's take a look under the hood. And all this. So it's basically using smart engines and math blocks. This is where you're telling it the base. Here's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So, yeah, something for you to play with. Hope you enjoy it. It's on the workshop. So I very recently built the Mandelbrot set, and thank you to everyone who has launched it to the top of the workshop. I really appreciate that. And what I've done is converted the Mandelbrot set into the Julia set, and so now this build creates both. So the Julia set is like a little sister to the Mandelbrot set. The Mandelbrot set might be said to contain a bunch of Julia sets. So here's a side-by-side comparison of what was in the viewer and what I got out of my Julia Set Maker. Up here is another one that I did, comparing one to the other, and then here is another one. So I talked about the Mandelbrot set in my last video. I don't want to go into explaining everything about it, but I'll try to give you the 30-second explanation. There's this complicated formula that calculates, and it calculates to either more than 2 or not more than 2 and probably less than 1 as the answer. And if it's more than 2, it escapes the Mandelbrot set, so it goes out here. If it's less than 2, it's in the Mandelbrot set and it's colored black. So if the answer to the calculation is 0.5, then that 0.5 gets put back into the formula and it's calculated again. And then we check again if it escaped the Mandelbrot set. So the different colors represent how many times that point took to escape the Mandelbrot set. The red took a short amount of time to escape the Mandelbrot set, so it's colored red. The yellow took longer to escape the Mandelbrot set. In other words, there were more iterations, more calculations that had to be done. And so that was colored yellow. And then the black never escaped the Mandelbrot set. And then if we look deeper into here, we've got some other colors. So there's like some greens or blues or something in here. And those took longer to escape the Mandelbrot set. And the same can be said for the Julia set. So the ones along the outer edge took a short amount of time to escape. This black never escaped. So here's one Julia set. I really like this website because it gives you a nice full screen. Here's the Julia sets, some of the patterns that you can make. Here is an animated Julia set. So the Julia set can be said to be part of the Mandelbrot set. It's like parts of the Julia set are buried within the Mandelbrot set. And so if you can see the Mandelbrot set here in gray, and if I hover over the Mandelbrot set, this animator is drawing the Julia set that occurs in this spot on the Mandelbrot set, which is pretty cool. So I can go around here, and I will definitely link to all of these websites that I'm showing you right now in the description of the video. So these are all patterns that we can make with the Mandelbrot Set Maker, although obviously in less detail than what is being shown here, and it takes a lot longer to generate the image in Scrap Mechanic. You know, the Mandelbrot and the Julia set are so incredibly beautiful and complicated and amazing, it just makes me want to break out in song. The Julia Set is like a sister to the Mandelbrot Set. On a Julia Set is like a sister to the Mandelbrot Set. Well, the Julia Set is like a sister to the Mandelbrot Set. These numbers exist on the imaginary plane. These numbers are transcendental. Oh, the Julia Set, like a sister to the Mandelbrot Set. Dobby, what are you doing? That's my dog. Come here, Dobby. This is Dobby, my dog. Say hello, Dobby. Oh, you're my house elf. So this is the formula that I used for the Mandelbrot set, for the x-coordinate and the y-coordinate. And the only thing that changes with the Julia set is this and this. With the Mandelbrot set, this x changes every time you increase the column from one column to the next. The x increases, and when you increase from one row to the next row, the y changes. That's with the Mandelbrot set. But with the Julia set, you input a constant. So the x is just one particular number, and the y is one particular number, and it stays that way through the entire process. And so that's the only thing that I had to change to make the Mandelbrot set into a Julia set. This is the same website I used before for the Mandelbrot set. It also has a page for the Julia set. This guy, Dominic Ford, thank you very much, Dominic. And you can see this is part of a Mandelbrot's Julia set. So let me back this up. And this is the Julia set that is on this machine right now. It looks different, of course, but that's because this is really pixelated and the colors are arbitrary, and so I picked different colors than this fellow did. But it is a Julia set. So I've added this part to the Mandelbrot set. Here's the Julia. If you don't do anything over here, then the machine will produce a Mandelbrot set. That's the default. But if you want to switch to the Julia set, you just turn on this switch here, and now you're producing a Julia set. So over here is the image that I would like to reproduce. It's not going to be the entire thing. Let me see if I just block this off. So you're going to see about this amount. So I'm going to write down these coordinates. Not the whole thing, but just to a couple of digits. We do that -0.86. For the left, the top is 0.11, bottom is 0.69, so that should do it. It's 50 iterations, and it's x at 0.3, y at 0.02. So now I've got my data to reproduce this. I go into Scrap Mechanic. Let's see, I believe I already set this to 0.3, and I can change that here. Here's the 0.02 for my y, which is the imaginary plane. I've got the real plane and the imaginary plane, and that's the x and the y. I want this on. So we need the left to be 0.86. So let's change that to 8 and 6. These both need to be negative. We need the top at a positive 0.11. And we need the bottom at 0.69. positive. Okay, so we've got all of our numbers in. Oh, the iterations, we want to make sure that's at 50. I've already got it at 50. Very good. We want to clear this, and then we turn it on, and then we wait. And this is going to take a long time. So we're going to just speed through this, through the magic of editing. 1 hour later. That doesn't look right. So I figured out what I did. I was supposed to set this to positive 0.11, and instead I set it to negative 0.11. So here's what I wanted to capture and what the machine produced, but because I gave it the wrong information, I actually asked it to produce this, and it produced this, which you can see there's a curve going around this way like that, and there's the curve going around this way like that. So it worked. So that's going to do it for this episode. These items are on the workshop. There are links in the description for Julia Set websites and also the workshop submissions. If you liked what you've seen, please give me a like and consider subscribing to my channel. And give me some comments. I'd love to hear what you think about all of this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye now. Now the Julia Set is like a sister to the Mandelbrot Set. Steve's Makerspace.